everyone, welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. Today what we're going to be doing is going over the new boss that was introduced with patch 1.3, and that is going to be the Primo Geovishap. So this is supposed to be the, teenage version of the Hatchling Geovishaps that you used to see all around Liyue. And in this case, we're going to be starting from the teleporter and gliding straight down to where he's moved out to his new place in the Tianshu Valley, and we're going to be teleporting from the Minlin teleporter. The reason for this is we try to have our guides be pretty comprehensive, and the first trouble that we had with this boss wasn't even fighting him. It was just finding out where he was, because we were searching over the top, this grassy expanse over here, and we had no idea that the devs had introduced this cave. I mean, we think this is new. This wasn't really here before, to our knowledge. So in case you were also equally confused about where to find this boss, well, here it is. We're going to drop in on him here, and we can see him just over there on the side. He's chilling, he's just sleeping for now, and we're going to drop down on him in a little bit, but first, why don't we figure out what exactly he has in store for us? So with this new boss, there's a couple of special elements to him, and the first thing is that as we open this page up here, the treasure collection cost is the standard 40 resin, pretty normal for world bosses, but if you look down here, elemental stones, you have Geo, Electro, Cryo, Pyro, and Hydro. So he drops every type of stone. Not all the time, but he's able to. And he also drops the new character ascension material, which is the Juvenile Jade, and this is also going to be used for the new hero Xiao, as well as Hu Tao whenever she comes out. So for the first portion of this fight, he's actually going to go through his mechanics pretty quickly, and we want to take this time to just talk about what the attacks are, his attack patterns first, and then later on in the video, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty and the details of how to beat this boss and what the best strategy is to approach him. Now, to start off, he'll almost always use this basic attack combo, which is the swipe, and then a slam. And following that, if you're playing a melee character, you're going to want to get close, and then he's going to tailspin you. Now, this is an attack that he uses pretty often, as you can see here. It's a really basic part of his kit, and it's a little hard to dodge, but with enough practice, you could do it pretty consistently. Then he's going to burrow and sort of land shark towards you, leaving behind a trail of ruins that are infused with the element that he is. In this case, it's going to be Hydro, and they'll explode with some small AoEs around them after a set amount of time. After that, we have Elemental Breath. We couldn't really get a good shot of it here because we were behind him, but we'll see another shot of this later. The next mechanic is a key part of his kit, and this is what makes this boss special. So you're going to see it right here, and it is going to be Primordial Shower. So he charges up and breathes into the ground, releasing a huge elemental AoE burst. And as you can see in the picture-in-picture here, we have Zhongli, and this is why we mentioned at the beginning of the video, Zhongli and Noelle are important for their Geo shields. More on that later. So first, here's Elemental Breath again. As you can see the way this works, he kind of goes side to side in a cone in front of him, and this is also going to be whatever element he is. In this case, it's Hydro damage. So if you are able to, definitely save up on some elemental resistance potions, because they can actually be pretty useful in this fight, and there's not much use for them elsewhere in the game. So for now, we're just going to see him cycle through some of the mechanics we've already talked about, and we're going to take this time to talk about some strategies regarding how to beat this boss. The first and most important thing to keep in mind is going to be team comp. And so at the beginning of the video, right when we dropped down to fight the boss, there was a basic tips that mentioned you want to bring Noelle or Zhongli if you can. The reason for this is because they are both Geo shield users, and this is very important because of the boss's special mechanic revolving around Primordial Shower. So if you noticed in our picture-in-picture with Zhongli earlier discussing the mechanic, right before he used the Primordial Shower attack, Zhongli shielded himself, and if you look at the boss's HP bar, he takes reflected damage when he uses that ability on somebody who's shielded. However, the important thing to mention is that the damage reflected is increased if you are the same element as the Geovishap. So for instance, if there is a Cryo Geovishap and you use Diona's shield, then he hits that shield with Primordial Showers, he will take increased reflected damage. The reason why you want to bring Noelle and Zhongli is because with Geo shields, it reflects that bonus damage every single time, no matter what element the Geovishap is. So now that we've gone over his core mechanic, let's talk about his attack patterns. So relative to the boss, you can be in 3 different positions: far away, in front, or behind. And depending on what position you're in, he will have different attack behaviors. So when you're far away, he's going to use Burrow and Primeval Spring. And Primeval Spring is actually a mechanic we haven't seen yet, but that's going to be at the very end of the video. When you're in front, the boss is going to cycle between the basic attack, the combo attack, and elemental breath. And when you're behind the boss, as we've seen multiple times this video already, he's going to use his spin move. And now that we're aware of these three positions and how they affect the boss's behavior, we can think about the best strategy for defeating him. So there's a couple ways to go about this. The first would be attacking from the front, and the other would be attacking from the back. Which of these strategies you choose to go with really depends on your comp. So if you have a really strong shielder, so for instance a built-out Diona or a really strong Zhongli, then you don't have to worry too much about taking those hits, and we would recommend fighting him from the back. Because the spin attack, while it is hard to dodge, doesn't do as much damage as getting comboed from the front. So if you have a strong shield user with a low cooldown, then you could just spam shield and keep fighting the boss from behind. On the other hand, if you don't have a good shield user, or you prefer to run without shields, then we recommend fighting from the front. And the reason for this is, the frontal attacks are a lot more predictable and easy to dodge. For instance, the punch, combo, and elemental breath attack all have pretty long windups, either in between the hits or before the initial attack, and that gives you plenty of time to dodge out of the way before the attacks land. This does make things a little bit more difficult for heroes with combos, so in this video we're using Diluc, who does have a combo, and as you can see here we're spending a lot of time dodging and it's kind of messing up our DPS potential because we don't have the time to just sit there and go through a whole combo without needing to dodge. When you're fighting from the front, the only chance you get is really elemental breath, where right as he uses it, you need to dash towards the boss to either side of him, and then you can get a couple precious seconds of free DPS. Another useful tip for those of you who are running shieldless comps like the one we're doing here today, is that you might have seen us do this already, but if you have a 5-star hero or Barbara with a really low cooldown ultimate, then you can actually abuse that ult for iframes during some bigger hits. So for instance, you could use the Luke ult, like right now, to dodge that slam attack. And now we're seeing Primeval Spring, and then this is where he charges up and then shoots these runes out of his back, and then they'll scatter around him and explode in much the same way the runes left behind from Burrow do, except in this case, the AoE is a bit larger and it lasts longer. And with that, we're going to see one last Burrow, and that's basically it for the whole fight. We've seen all the mechanics, we've gone over some of the strategies about what to do, what not to do, who to bring, what's most effective, and so hopefully this was a helpful video for you guys. We're going to go ahead right now, turn on the DPS, because we were running around for a lot of this fight, just to try to bait out that last Primeval Spring. For some reason, we were running away, he was not using it, but here we go, this ult should do it, a couple more hits, and let's go ahead and see what rewards we get here. Hopefully we'll be able to see some of those different gemstones we were talking about earlier, but we'll see. So, there's the fight. We're going to open up the Leyline's Blossom, and okay, so for reference, this is a world level, I believe 7, and we got 3 juvenile jades, a couple of fragments, a couple of slivers, and that's about it. Honestly, par for the course as far as world boss drops goes, so it's nothing to get too excited about. But what we should be excited about is that Uncommontary, the channel, we just reached 1,000 subscribers very recently, so big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for your continued love and support. If you enjoy, don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more Genshin Impact and Exo Heroes content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.